The stuff we sprinkle on food today once decided who lived, who ruled, and who starved. A simple mineral that built empires, because salt wasn't just seasoning, it was survival. Without it, your body dies. Without trade, your city collapses. And whoever controlled it, controlled everything. From the pharaohs of Egypt to the generals of Rome, salt paid for armies, built roads, and crowned kings. It was so valuable, soldiers were paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. But power built on necessity never lasts. When everyone needs what you control, eventually they'll fight you for it. And so, for thousands of years, nations waged wars over something you can find in your kitchen. Salt-funded empires and broke kingdoms. This is the story of the mineral that built civilization and how the world's first currency became just another grain of dust. To ancient civilizations, salt wasn't flavor, it was life. In the burning heat of Egypt, salt preserved the one thing that mattered most: food. Without it, grain rotted, meat spoiled, and armies starved before they ever reached the battlefield. Pharaohs didn't just build pyramids out of stone, they built their power out of salt. The Nile's salt flats fed an empire, one grain at a time. Across the desert, caravans carried blocks of salt as if they were bars of gold. And in a way, they were. Traders risked their lives for it, crossing miles of sand just to exchange salt for gold, spices, or slaves. Even in Rome, the world's first superpower, salt was sacred. Roman soldiers were paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. The empire ran not just on conquest, but on preservation. Because if your legions couldn't eat, your empire couldn't grow. And so, the roads that connected Rome weren't just built for war, they were built for salt. From the mines of Italy to the ports of Ostia, salt flowed like blood through the veins of empire. It was white gold, pure, powerful, priceless. And whoever controlled it, controlled civilization itself. As the world grew, so did its hunger, not just for food, but for power. And salt became the weapon that fed both. In ancient China, salt wasn't just traded, it was controlled. Dynasties built entire bureaucracies to manage it. The emperor himself taxed it, sold it, and guarded it like treasure. Because whoever ruled the salt ruled the people, and it worked. For over 1,000 years, China's salt monopoly filled the empire's treasury. It built walls, paid armies, and funded inventions that changed the world. The Great Wall itself? Partly paid for with salt money. Meanwhile, across the world, in Africa's vast Sahara, caravans of camels moved slowly through the sand, each one carrying slabs of salt as heavy as stone. They crossed thousands of kilometres to trade it in gold-rich cities like Timbuktu. It was a journey so brutal, so deadly, that entire empires rose just to protect it. In West Africa, salt was literally worth its weight in gold. They called it white gold, and with good reason. Whoever held the salt mines of Taghaza or Taudeni held the power to feed nations. And along those desert routes, cities were born. Timbuktu, Gao, Kano. They became crossroads of trade, religion, and knowledge, all because of salt. But with every empire built on salt came another ready to take it. Because when one resource controls life itself, it's only a matter of time before life turns into war. Power always finds a way to tax necessity. And salt, the one thing no one could live without, became the perfect target. For kings and emperors, salt wasn't just revenue, it was control. Every grain could be counted, taxed, and regulated. And if you didn't pay, you didn't eat. In medieval Europe, rulers turned salt into a state monopoly. They sold it at outrageous prices and punished anyone who dared to make their own. But no kingdom went further than France. The infamous gabelle, the salt tax, was one of the most hated laws in French history. Every family was forced to buy salt from the king's officials, even the poorest peasants, even when they didn't need it. And when people refused, they were arrested. Smugglers, known as faux sauniers, risked their lives moving barrels of illegal salt through forests and rivers. Many were caught, some were executed, all for something that came from the sea. The rich could afford the tax, the poor could not. And with every coin the monarchy squeezed from its people, the resentment grew, silent at first, then louder, until it became revolution. By the time the guillotines rose in Paris, the salt tax was more than an economic injustice. It was a symbol of everything that was wrong with power. For centuries, kings built their wealth on salt, but now that same mineral was funding their downfall. By the dawn of the modern age, salt had done what no empire alone could do. It connected the world. From the salt mines of Austria to the coasts of India, from the African deserts to the frozen ports of Scandinavia, salt flowed across oceans, deserts, and continents. It became the silent currency of civilization. Merchants followed it, ships carried it, empires taxed it, and every grain told a story of hunger, of ambition, of survival. In Venice, salt paid for marble palaces and golden fleets. The city's power didn't come from war, it came from trade. The Venetians didn't conquer by sword, they conquered by contract. In Britain, salt became part of the industrial heartbeat. Salt preserved meat for soldiers, fish for sailors, and leather for factories. Without it, the empire's armies and navies would have rotted long before they conquered half the world. And in India, under British rule, salt became resistance itself. The British taxed Indian salt, forcing people to pay for the right to use what was already theirs. Centuries after France's Gabelle, history was repeating itself, until one man decided to walk. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi led thousands on the Salt March, a peaceful protest that turned salt once again into a weapon of freedom. From the pharaohs to the factories, from empires to independence, salt had built the bridges of the modern world and lit the fires that would one day burn them down. For thousands of years, salt built kingdoms, fueled wars, and fed the world. But every empire, even one built on necessity, eventually meets its end. When the Industrial Revolution arrived, it broke salt's monopoly on survival. Machines made mining faster, railroads made transport cheaper, and refrigeration made preservation almost obsolete. What was once priceless became plentiful. Salt lost its power. No one fought wars over it anymore. No one paid taxes in it. No one worshipped it. The mineral that had built civilization had been replaced by progress, but the echoes never faded. The word salary, from the Latin salarium, or payment in salt, still sits on our paychecks. The ancient trade routes that carried salt became the foundations of modern roads, ports, and borders. Even the concept of taxation, of governments profiting from what people can't live without, that never truly disappeared. Salt's empire may have fallen, but its legacy still runs through every system we've built since. Because salt was never just about taste, it was about control and connection. And in the end, the story of salt is the story of us. In the end, salt did more than preserve food. It preserved civilization. It connected people long before ships or telegraphs, and it built the systems that still rule us today. From kingdoms and caravans to corporations and supply chains, the story never really changed. Only the currency did. What was once traded in salt is now traded in data, oil, and influence. Different empires, same hunger. Because power doesn't disappear, it just finds new form. And the price of survival has always stayed the same. If this gave you a new perspective, don't just scroll away. Hit subscribe. This is Economic Chronicles, where history exposes the present and the future is written in the lessons we refuse to learn.